Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Monday, August 18th. This is episode 218. I feel like I haven't done this in forever. Welcome back, Chuck.
I don't feel like I've done this for
fresh
forever.
off of Chuck's vacation. I was on vacation earlier this month, so so was Zach. So we were off for a week, and then we came back once last week. Had to cancel last Thursday for reasons that we don't need to say on the pod. So, what's going on, Chuck?
Not much. Seems like when I left, things were hopping and bopping, and when I came back, things were really hopping and bopping.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, today we have we have a lot going on in the world of sports in general, but as far as San Antonio goes, we have something that everybody is talking about, and there's literally one subject. I put it in big bold letters on my rundown. It's Project Marvel all day today. So that's pretty much all we're going to be talking about today on the podcast. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4 Fox SA. Download, rate, review the podcast version wherever you get your podcast. Wanted to ask you, though, your vacation, you went to Green Bay.
I did.
How was that?
It was great.
Saw your Packers in person?
I did. My brother and I took my mother up to Green Bay. That's where she's from, and we were at the practice on Tuesday of last week. Ben Sims, by the way, the young
San
man
Antonio's
from Clark, had a phenomenal practice, had a huge one-handed catch in the end zone on a deep ball, scored a touchdown, then had a touchdown call back in the preseason game. But my mom just kind of said under her breath, "I like it here." I was like, God, this is,
Well
it
done.
was well done.
Chuck.
Yes.
Well done, Chuck and brother.
Yes. We really had a good time, the three of us bonding. We saw cousins. We met some new cousins. And
Kirk Cousins?
No. Not that guy's,
Did you
I
drive?
always think of the Vikings.
Did you
when I
drive
think of
again?
We drove from Green Bay to Chicago, which is about
that's
3.5, 4 hours. And then we also drove to the UPA, the Upper Peninsula, and we did a little grave site searching, which was, I'll save that story for another time.
Grave
but
site searching.
yes.
Okay. Well,
Getting in touch with our past.
mine was
Ancient past. 1800s past.
fair enough. I'm also coming back from vacation, the Dominican Republic. Beautiful this time of year.
Yeah.
Actually, not right now because there's a hurricane going right over top of it. So we got out of there right in time. But it was beautiful. Punta Cana is fantastic with my in-laws. So that was
Nice.
a damn good time.
Highly recommended?
Highly recommended. Majestic Elegance was the resort we stayed at, the all-inclusive. We did not leave the resort. There was a casino on property. It was fantastic.
All the comforts of home.
Beach was right there. All of our rooms were swim-up rooms, which were great. So there was a pool right outside. It was just great. I'm peeling like you wouldn't
Me
believe.
too. I played golf.
Because I was
and
sunburnt like crazy.
I played golf poorly.
I
by the way.
shot a 95 internationally, so I was impressed with that.
That is very, very
I
good.
brought my golf clubs and played. They had golf course at the resort, and I played
internationally.
Internationally, I was in
does that mean?
I was in the Dominican. It's not this country, so it's international.
International score.
So what I wanted to know is what's the conversion rate? Is that like a 75 American? Did I just shoot a 75? Is my question. That's what I want to know.
I needed a conversion
Wait,
rate.
why would it be different?
Yeah.
It's not. I'm kidding.
I needed a conversion rate on my golf outing.
Just because you play internationally doesn't mean the score is different.
That's
I
why
wish
like,
it
why are you
was.
saying international? I didn't understand. Now I
Because
get it.
I
It's a
played
joke.
golf
It's
in another
funny.
country.
It's funny now. The joke. I gotta laugh.
It's really funny when you have to explain the jokes. It makes it so much better. Anyway, let's get to the
Sorry, it's
crux
okay.
of this. So we have latest happening on Project Marvel, including the term sheet that dropped this morning and all the drama that's going on City Council with the mayor and some of the City Council members who are not a fan of her or the way she does things. Our reaction to that, plus what you need to know about the term sheet, which I have right here. It's about 15 pages long. I will not read it to you because that'll bore everyone to tears, but I'll give you the highlights. First and foremost, though, as we have come to do, area code 218, Chuck. 218.
I got nothing.
It is. You guys got a guess? Bob, you got a guess? It's more in your neck of the woods.
Detroit.
It's basically isn't it up where you were on vacation?
It's upper. It's one of
like-
those two states up there.
It's up high, right? It's almost in Canada.
Yep, it's upper Minnesota.
Really?
Northern
Okay.
Northern
Well,
Minnesota
that's close to
is
up there.
218. Well, I'm mad that I missed last week. It's 217. That's Springfield, Illinois area code. So.
You spent some time there.
I spent some time there.
So did I.
So did the Democrats last week.
So did Abe Lincoln.
It is the land of Lincoln.
It sure as heck is.
And if Lincoln was never there, Springfield would cease to exist because that is their calling card. They have the Abe Lincoln Museum there. They have everything there.
It's also the town of The Simpsons.
There's numerous
Yes.
Springfields.
Another bad joke.
There's
that needs explaining.
there's a lot of Springfields. There's too
Yes.
many Springfields. So let's get to the term sheet and the Spurs. So over the weekend, it was almost done on Friday. There was an email sent out by Eric Walsh, the city manager. This is going to be very San Antonio specific. So if people are normally listening to this that are huge basketball fans or Cowboys fans or whatever, this is going to be super San Antonio specific. So apologize for that. But also this is information that most of our listeners care and viewers care to see and hear. Over the weekend, the term sheet was finalized, was posted this morning with one of the resolutions on the city council agenda. Originally, it was going to be, and when I left on Friday, it was going to be talked about on Thursday in executive session. It was not going to be for public consumption. And then it was going to be voted on in a special meeting later this month. The rumor was, and the goal was for it to be voted on August 27th. That has now changed because the mayor over the weekend put a resolution on the council agenda that was to vote for a strategic pause on all negotiations with the Spurs. They would also have to conduct a new economic study. They would also have to have 2 more community engagement projects or meetings in each district, 2 in each council district. So it's another 20 meetings, even though they just got done with a series of those kinds of meetings. And so I don't know that this was to combat that, but when we woke up this morning, there was another new thing on the council agenda, and it was to vote on the term sheet. Even though that was not the original plan to happen. The original plan was to have that happen next week, but by golly, we're going to get it done now. So on Thursday, the city council will vote on the term sheet that came out today. And it's further evidence of the infighting that is going on in city council and among the mayoral ranks here with the mayor, who has, to put it lightly, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in her first couple of months in City Hall. So just brief overview of what the brass tacks terms are of the term sheet. The city will pay $489 million or 38%, whichever is less, to the Spurs Arena. And as far as Project Marvel goes, we're focusing solely on the Spurs Arena portion of this, not really the outside of the Alamo Dome and the hotel and the convention center, all that. $489 million or 38%, whichever is less, is what the city will pay. The county will pay 25%, not to exceed $311 million, though. The overall cost of this project, the arena, is $1.3 billion. So just quick math, the county will pay $311 million because 25% of that is not 1.3 is higher than 311. So, and then the Spurs will pay $500 million plus the cost overruns. The cost overruns is the key part of that. We talked to Councilman Mark White this morning, District 10, one of the only Republican voices on the council and with his party affiliation. And he said that was like the non-starter for the city. They needed the cost overrun portion of that to be taken care of by the Spurs because you don't know how much one of these things is going to be.
Especially as you're now talking about projecting out.
Exactly.
With rate of inflation. And
exactly.
stuff like
with
that.
the rate of inflation, with tariffs, with everything that's going to cause the price to go up. So basically it's $800 million from the county and the city, and then the rest is from the Spurs. The venue tax is where everything kind of hinges at the moment in November. The county will put on the, just making sure we're rolling. The county will put on the ballot in November 4th. People will vote in Bexar County for or against a raise in the venue tax from 1.75% to 2%, which is basically a tourism tax. It's hotels, motels, rental cars, everything people use coming into San Antonio or coming into Bexar County is where that money goes. So it's not public tax dollars. It is public tax dollars, but it's not local tax dollars. But anyway,
I mean, that's assuming you don't like to go downtown and
assuming if you have a staycation, if you go with a staycation, you will be taxed an extra 0.25%. But general thoughts on the term sheet. I've basically talked for like the last 5 minutes. So
no, I like listening to you because again, I was out of the loop last week, but I just find it very interesting in a lot of ways that there's this divisiveness at City Hall when it comes to this, right? It is a hot potato issue, right? And there's a part of me, it's like, well, we're going to get a new feasibility study done, and then so how much is that going to cost? So at some point like we're racking up all this other stuff where if they've already got the number of votes needed to at least move to the next step in the process, so there's some confusion on my end on that regard. But the other part of it is too, and I think, a lot of people kind of feel this way. It's like, what's wrong with slowing down and trying to see if the city can get a better deal in all this? Why is there such a rush to move this thing boom, 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 boom? And I get it. I mean, stuff's got to be on a ballot in November. And then the way I'm understanding it, the quote unquote infrastructure tax will be moved to sometime in the spring.
Infrastructure bond.
So at least they're not going to be two on the same ballot, which I think from a strategic standpoint is a little easier to sell.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
They have more time to sell that part. Because, as far as the infrastructure bond goes, the city has more selling to do there. Obviously, they don't have to sell the venue tax. It's not their tax. But if that doesn't get passed, this project doesn't happen.
If both of them don't get passed, this project doesn't happen.
Correct. At least from what we understand.
Right.
I've heard some people involved in the city say if the infrastructure bond doesn't pass, then they'll figure it out. But it's kind of hard to build a new arena if you don't have streets and roads that lead to it and walkways to walk away from it and parking spaces to go to. So as far as that goes, yes, the one thing that is on the ballot for sure in November is the venue tax, raising it from 0.75% or 1.75% to 2% at the county level. That'll raise an extra certain amount of money. $311 million of that at the most goes to the Spurs. The rest of it goes to the rodeo, who's going to be taking over for Frostbank Center, new developments around the Frostbank Center to make that a viable destination for the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo year-round for those kinds of activities. And they have a really great plan with that. I've seen it. I was there at the commissioner meeting when that happened, and it was a really enticing plan to really make that area viable year-round for different activities. As far as the infrastructure tax goes, it's not a slam dunk that's going to happen in May. It could still happen in November. I think their deadline to get that on the ballot is sometime in September. I want to say it's late to mid-September to get that on the ballot. But the rumor as of this moment and the plan as of this moment is to have that in May. And that is a new development because they were planning on putting that in November.
Yes.
So that's a new development. And again, if you don't know what we're talking about, the infrastructure bond part of this is you're going to hear a lot of city officials and county officials say no public tax dollars are going to the arena, which is true. No public tax dollars or local tax dollars are going to the arena itself. The infrastructure around it is a different story. The infrastructure around it for the first 5 years of this Project Marvel, which is a 15-year development project when it comes to the Alamo Dome and the Convention Center and all those things, the first 5 years, the infrastructure is going to cost $200 to $250 million. All of that is general city funds. That is going to be your property taxes. That is going to be the general revenue of the city. So that is what the people of San Antonio are paying for directly out of pocket. And there's a lot of question as to how this is going to be sold to the public, because when you hear $200 to $250 million for downtown infrastructure, you're like, okay, cool, downtown infrastructure. But then you hear, oh, it's going to help facilitate the arena. It's going to help facilitate all these other things, these other developments. And they're like, well, we don't want $250 million going to an arena. Well, it's not. I mean, they're going to also sell that you need this infrastructure anyway. Downtown infrastructure is crap. Like, let's call a spade a spade. It needs a facelift in the most brutalist of ways. Everywhere you turn downtown, there's cones anyway. But now they need, in order to have this arena, you need a downtown that you can actually travel to and is not a cluster F of just cones and construction. And that's what this $250 million would go to. So,
yeah. I guess I'm in the dumb guy club that thought that why don't we already have this money for stuff like this already? The whole damn town needs streets. We can see that, you can find a street driving around down here that isn't under construction or at least down to one lane. I mean, please point it out to me so I can find a new way to work, right?
Seriously.
So, I mean, again, these are all things that voters, assuming that this eventually reaches its latest conclusion, are going to have to decide, how they want to parcel this out. But I mean, this is a prickly pear. There's no question about it.
A couple of things I want to hear from Mark White about. So talked to. We're going to go to number 2, Javi. I think it was the first one that you have queued up. He was on our shows today, both on News 4 this morning and on Fox SA this morning on the morning shows, and he did a separate interview with us afterwards. And Mark White has kind of been, he's the District 10 councilman, took over for Clayton Perry a couple of years ago, was revoted in this past election. He has kind of been the, I don't know the way to say this, the thorn in Mayor Gina Ortiz Jones' side. They're kind of been the two bumping heads the most when it comes to the new CCRs and the way that everything has been done in behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've heard a lot of stories from them about how Mayor Jones is changing the way things are done in city council and in city government, and a lot of it has rubbed a lot of people, including Mark White, the wrong way. So just a little bit of backstory. When you hear what he has to say, take it from that perspective of he is someone who is directly competing with what Mayor Jones wants. So this is him explaining the terms of the term sheet.
Yeah, so it's important to note that no local tax dollars here from our citizens are going towards this deal. The city's portion is going to be paid for almost exclusively by these project finance zone dollars, which are state sales tax dollars that can be used on projects like this. So you're going to have that money that if we don't use, it goes back to the state. You're going to have the county portion, which is about $311 million, and that's going to be paid for by tax on folks that use hotels and rental cars. And then you're going to have the Spurs portion, which is going to be $500 million, plus everything over that that the arena costs.
So important in that, and when you hear people say the Spurs are not, or that the no public local dollars are going to the arena, this is what they mean. So $489 million is the cap for what the city is going to spend on this arena. All of that money is future money that they're going to be bringing in through the Spurs lease agreement, which is $4 million a year, increasing by 2% every year. It equals out to somewhere around $150 million over 30 years. They're also going to be doing the ground rent for all the private development, revenue from the Hemisphere Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, the TERS tax, and revenue from the Project Finance Zone number 2, which they created a couple of weeks ago. I'll explain that in a second. So the way that all of this is going to happen and the city's portion is going to happen is it's going to be funded through bonds that the city lets out. It's basically debt that the city releases, and they are in debt to themselves. The answer I couldn't get earlier when I was on the phone with people from the city was $489 million. You're going to pay that off with future money.
Yes.
So how are you paying for it up front? And that was an answer that they did not want to give me
because
it seems as though that will be public money that is fronting the $489 million. I don't know this for a fact, but it would make logical sense that if the city is paying $489 million in 2028 through bond measurements, and they don't have $489 million in a rainy day fund, that you're going to need to pay that off somehow, and you're going to pay that off through all these future revenues, but you're going to have to pay it up front with tax dollars, is how it reads to me. I could be wrong, but that's how it reads.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean, I thought there was something that somebody said at the city council meeting a couple of weeks ago
August
about
6th.
They just basically take out a loan, got to pay the first loan back by sometime in the 2030s, and then the second loan would be paid off in the 2040s.
Yeah.
It
could work that way as well.
Who are they paying?
The city is, how it's been explained to me, is the city is going to be paying themselves back. So they are going to take out a loan against themselves for $489 million over a certain period of time through bonds. And those bonds will be paid back over a 30-year increment through these 4 different revenue streams. And so while it's unclear to me how the $489 million is come up with, because the city is already kind of hurting for money right now. There's a revenue projection halfway through this year that had them at I think it was in the hole $250 million in just a couple of years.
Wow.
So how that happens, I don't know. People much smarter than I are handling that situation with the city. It's not hard to be smarter than me. So, I mean, we'll trust
you've done
them
a
at their
good job
word.
with this, dude. I mean, staying after it and looking at the minutia of all this.
So
That's my
the
weird talent.
the big pushback on this is from the mayor, right?
Well, like the mayor, yeah. The mayor, even the mayor though, has said that she wants this to happen. She just doesn't want it to happen as fast as this.
So, like, her main concern was the economic impact study, right?
Right.
So how valid was the economic impact study that was done?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, if you ask the Spurs,
If you ask the Spurs, it was great.
It
But
was-
the problem that everyone has with the economic impact study is that it was by a company that has an investment in the Spurs.
Well, that was one of her complaints, but she also said it was very surface. Like there was
It wasn't too in depth, and so she wants another one. There's also a compromise that you can have here, which is let's vote on the term sheet, but also get another economic impact study. This is a non-binding term sheet. You don't have to sign this and be like, all right, we just signed up for $489 million. It's non-binding. You can change this I don't know about at any time legally, but it's a step in the direction of that. But you can also get another economic impact study done if you want. And that's one of the things I'm sure that they will discuss on Thursday, because Thursday is primed to be an explosive meeting. Of epic proportions when it comes to the relationship that council has with Mayor Jones. Who wants to be called Mayor Jones at all costs?
Ortiz Jones.
She goes by Mayor Jones to the council. So
Okay.
I've just started calling her Mayor Jones. Yeah, she doesn't go by Gina Jones. She goes by Gina Ortiz Jones. But when you're referencing her with the mayor, it's Mayor Jones. I don't know. She wants to be called certain things. As far as some of the other aspects go, the two resolutions that are on the Thursday City Council agenda, this is what Mark White had to say this morning. It's number 3. It should be this next one. I'm going in order. Should be 34. Yeah, 34 seconds. This is what Mark White had to say this morning regarding the two competing resolutions that are on the City Council agenda on Thursday.
Yeah, we're going to decide on Thursday, right? The mayor's been very clear that she wants a pause. I think the majority of council has been very clear that we're ready to get this information finalized and into the hands of the citizens. So everybody's going to get to have their say. We're going to vote on these resolutions on Thursday, and then we'll see what happens. But again, it's really important. This is about transparency. The citizens deserve to know the terms of the deal before they go and vote in November, and so that's certainly what I'm pushing for.
In that is, they've been asking for this for a long time. The city has been asking for numbers. The county's been asking for numbers. The Spurs have been reluctant in the past to divulge the numbers that this project is going to cost. So I think now that in that bite you just heard when he's referencing the term sheet, that's what they've all been wanting, was who's paying for what and how much. And we finally have that. That is in our hands now. I have exactly how much this arena is going to cost. Not exactly, but a rough estimate of what this arena is going to cost. It's not $1.5 billion. It's $1.3 billion. And if it does end up being $1.5 billion, the Spurs are taking care of that extra $200 million. That's, I think, what everyone has been asking for. And when he says we wanted this to give to the voters, that's what he's talking about, is we just wanted to know exactly who's going to be paying for what. So when they go to the ballot box in November to vote on this venue tax, at least you know, okay, the venue tax, this much of the venue tax is going to this. So does that make it easier from a perspective of a voter?
I don't know, because I think it's, we're here, it's all about transparency, and yet it's just now becoming transparent in some regards, right? But there's still a lot of dancing around and, word salading here and there. And I mean, it's a difficult proposition all around to wrap your head around, because of, unless you're talking to people on the inside, which I know we all are, if you're the average voter sitting at home, how are you looking at this? Has there already been, if you already made up your mind, I mean, you've talked about this before, has there been enough damage done already to look at this in a way that you're kind of side-eyed through the whole thing? And I think some of that's probably still relevant.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you about, and it's something you reported last night, that the Spurs, once they saw that resolution from Gina Ortiz Jones, the mayor, on the docket, were a little frustrated. Can you kind of enlighten anybody on that?
Well, I mean, think about it. You talked about there was a negotiation going on, terms were agreed upon, and then all of a sudden they're getting walked back. after everybody agreed that these were the terms. So, yeah, I don't think that it should be a surprise that the Spurs were not pleased, to use the term mildly, that this is the direction that it's going. But, again, it appears there are enough votes to move this to the next phase. And so some of this is a little strange that Mayor Jones is doubling down on her stance. And trust me, I get it. I mean, quite frankly, I can't disagree with her actions on a lot of this to this point. I want to know everything about it. I want to know if I'm making an informed decision with where this is going, and is the city getting its best deal possible in something that is supposedly going to be a partnership between the Spurs, the city, and the electorate.
It's also worth saying that before Mayor Jones took over as mayor, before she was elected, Eric Walsh, the city manager, was given these powers to negotiate the MOU. He was under Mayor Ron Nirenberg, who this will go down as part of his legacy for starting to spearhead this in that way to begin with. Eric was given the power to negotiate this stuff on behalf of the city, from the city council, from the mayor. Just like Judge Peter Sakai at the county level was given the power to negotiate this stuff with the Spurs and with the city. So she doesn't have the power. The mayor doesn't have the power to take that power away from Eric Walsh. And so that's why you're seeing something like this on there. This wasn't her doing. This wasn't her will to have Eric Walsh be negotiating this stuff. This happened before she got there, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that was part of the plan to get Eric these powers before someone else could come in and kind of disrupt it. So now that they have this, she's trying to walk it back a little bit and say, okay, how can we prevent this from continuing at the pace that it's going at? And the people who are still on the council, and the three people that have fought her tooth and nail, are Terry Castillo, Alderete Gavito, and Mark White, three incumbents on the council that know the process and that have been dealing with this for a little bit longer. Those three are fighting her because they already know what's going on. They've already been briefed on all this, and she's kind of playing catch up. And I get why she wants things to slow down, maybe have, or maybe it's all just a big negotiating tactic. Maybe, and I think that they got some parts of this term sheet that were different than what the letter was that we saw from the Spurs
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago. Instead of $60 million in community benefits, it's $75 million committed over 30 years from the Spurs and community developments or community benefits. So they had some wins in this thing. Even though there's some wins, she still wants to pause and do another economic study and do the things that we've already done, which is going back to the constituents and hearing from them and doing these things that actually cost the city money to hire this organization to run these meetings, which is something else in and of itself.
But I think to be fair, I think she speaks for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
On some levels, this feels like open up and say, and it's coming. Whatever's coming down your throat is coming. So, I don't want to make it sound like we're picking on her, because I think, quite frankly, in some ways, you may not agree with her tactics. She appears to be looking out for the taxpayer on this particular item.
Yes. I think that she has a good argument. I saw something from, who did I see this from? It might have been Mark White. And I got to find the tweet. I don't want to misquote it. So let's go to the last bite that we have from Mark White, which I think is the most pivotal point of all of this. So let's hear from him.
There is a vote that is scheduled for November. This vote is happening November 4th. The citizens are going to get to decide whether or not this arena project moves forward. It's our job at City Hall to get this to the public so that they can know the terms of the deal, so they can be informed of what they're actually voting on when they go to the polls in November.
So here's the thing that everyone needs to know. If the term sheet, or if the venue tax does not pass in November, this term sheet is basically as good as the paper it's written on. It's nothing. It's null and void, because then you don't have $311 million. So they have to come up with a whole new one. Can it happen without? No, I'm just ripping paper. Can it happen without the county? I don't know. But from everything I've heard and from everything I understand, the county venue tax is pivotal, and the infrastructure bond that will pass or that will be up for a vote in May is pivotal. The arena does not get built without those two things, which in turn has this arena squarely on the ballot of the voters. Even though it's not going to say Spurs Arena yes or no on your ballot, if you don't vote for the venue tax, you're voting no against an arena. It's just as simple as that. If you vote yes for the venue tax, you're voting for a new Spurs Arena. It's as simple as that. So when you go to the ballot in November, you're voting for or against the county spending $311 million of county money, which is via the tourist tax, which is mainly people that come in. 99% of the money that comes in from that is people that come in to visit San Antonio. You're voting that money goes to a Spurs Arena. That's what you're voting for in November. So, I mean, I hear some people, and Don included, says that's not that simple. It is. It is that simple. You're not going to see Spurs Arena on your ballot. You're going to see tourism tax up from 1.75% to 2%. You need to know what that means. What that means is yes, Spurs Arena, no Spurs Arena. That's what it means. That's as simple as I can put it.
Well said. Something we've been saying since November. If I add up the math, there were going to be two taxes. The difference between now and November is
but here's
the infrastructure tax will be moved to the spring.
It's not a tax. The infrastructure is not a new tax, though. That's the thing that I think some people are misinterpreting. The infrastructure is not going to be a new tax. The infrastructure is using general fund money towards this particular item.
But we got to go vote on it. See, I mean,
you have to vote on it because it's public funds that are going to be used in a certain large. I mean, again, portion.
we can chop this up any way you want to look at it, but this is why there's confusion. And then we talk about, the average guy sitting at home doesn't understand, or he's too dumb, or whatever. It's like I think we're missing the boat here. Is we're making this more complicated than what it needs to be, and we're trying to bob and weave and duck and dodge and say this and move this and PR this. And, again, this is why there's mass confusion. And the more mass confusion there is, I think does not work for anybody that wants to see this thing pass.
Fair enough. And the two other points on the term sheet that I wanted to bring up. There's a non-relocation agreement, which we heard Jalen McKee Rodriguez, District 2 council person, talking about the other day. Excuse me. I'm trying to get over this cold. I can't shake this cough. There is, over the term of the 30-year lease, the Spurs cannot play their home games elsewhere. So no more I-35 series is essentially what that means. They would still be able to play some games internationally if they work that out with the NBA, and they have to come to council for approval on that. But the Spurs cannot play 2 home games in Austin anymore if this happens starting in 2032, 2033 when this new arena is built. So that's one thing. The other thing I thought was interesting is that the arena, it says in the term sheet that the arena and design would take up to 57 months, which would put it opening in 2032, 2033, after the bond measure in 2028 is passed by the city to put these $489 million towards the arena. That basically coincides perfectly with the Spurs lease ending it with the county. So they're not going to, as of this term sheet, they're not going to leave the Frostbank Center early. They're going to play out their lease with the county at the Frostbank Center and then switch over to downtown if this arena gets built in 2032, 2033 is the other part of this that I thought was interesting. But, Bob, you got anything?
We got a surprising number of comments in here.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, let's start with Robert Smith, who's always in here.
Robert, nice to see
Robert.
you. Missed you over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he puts pretty simple. A new arena might be what the city needs, and then I think a good representation of the other. Well, Rick Gutierrez says if OKC gets it, why can't San Antonio?
That one's also much different. And once Don's back, I'll have him elaborate on that because I saw him on Wednesday last week watching a 2023 conference that the mayor of Oklahoma City was talking at. It was just a speech that he was watching at his desk, and I was like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I have other things to do. Why are you listening to the 2023 OKC speech?" But that's also they're paying for like 99% of that stadium up in Oklahoma City.
And I think Henry Lopez summed up, I think, what a lot of people are thinking. He says it's wasting time building a new Spurs arena. We should use the money on something that the whole of San Antonio needs, like our streets, shelter, or whatever else needs to be done. That's just a waste of money building a Spurs arena. And I think that's what people like, hey, you're using this money. Why not use it for stuff we actually need?
So you want to handle that?
Well, I mean, that's such a, I mean, it's a good point. It also opens up the whole can of worms of why hasn't this stuff already been happening? Like, you can build an arena and they're still not going to fix the streets, right? Or they're going to fix them in perpetuity, right? So from the Spurs perspective, I'm sure it's not fair for them to get lumped into the rest of what else is not going on around town or is going on currently because the whole damn city's under construction. So, you know, it's a tough one because, right, these things seem to be all happening at once, right? We need a new arena, we need new streets, we need all this stuff. So it's really, really hard. But again, that's part of why this is, in some circles, such a tough sell because, yeah, we do need new streets. We do need to help the homeless people that are all over downtown, and why there's a big reason why, if you ask those in the know, why there's so many of those hotels downtown where we're going to be drawing more money from, allegedly, than most of those rooms are sitting vacant right now as we speak. I mean, there's not a lot of people coming here like they used to for whatever reason. So this is a nuanced problem and not just indigenous to Project Marvel, but it's all kind of in the same bucket, so to speak.
Along those lines, the problem with the argument spend $289 million elsewhere is that it can't be. The project finance zone that they're going to be drawing the majority of that money from, which is, it can't be spent on streets. It can't be spent on infrastructure. It can't be spent on those things. If you don't spend it, it's basically, to put this in the simplest terms I can, it's money in a 3-mile zone of downtown that is made and sent to the state. And because of a law that was made in 2022 or 23, I can't remember which one. I think it was 23. A law that was put on the books by the legislature in 2023, cities can now recoup that money and use it for big projects like the convention center, like the Alamo Dome, like a new Spurs arena. If you don't use that money, it just stays with the state.
Right.
So
but that's a portion.
That's a portion of it.
The overall.
But the other portions of what they're going to be paying that $489 million is leasing rights to an arena. If you don't have leasing rights, there's no money there. Or if you don't have an arena, there's no leasing rights, there's no money there. So that money goes away. That never exists. The other things are hotel motel tax, the TIRZ tax, which also can't be used on infrastructure. And the other thing is leasing from surrounding developments. And if there's no surrounding developments surrounding an arena, there's no lease money there. So the money that's being spent or that's going to be spent on the arena doesn't exist right now. It's money, it's future money. Like, you can't spend that $489 million to fix the pothole in your neighborhood because it doesn't exist and it can't be spent on that stuff. The $200 to $250 million that is going to be in an infrastructure bond, probably in May, can be. That's the difference. The money that is going towards downtown infrastructure that they're earmarking, $200 to $250 million, that can be spent throughout the city. And that's the best argument that people have about voting no for that. Is why do we need to put $250 million just in this 3-mile radius downtown when my streets on the upper northwest side or northeast side or south side or over by Alamo Ranch or, you know, where, insert name here of town or area of town, why aren't those dollars being spent there? That's the best argument that people have when it comes to the infrastructure bond.
One last comment from Rick Gutierrez. He says, our downtown needs a facelift. It's that simple. And the renderings are beautiful. And I agree. I think the renderings look really
question.
Nice. Yeah, 100%.
Right? I think we said that day one, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want this in their town?
Also,
right?
don't be surprised when everything's finalized that it doesn't look anything like that. that was just
really.
I mean, maybe not anything. That was probably an over-exaggeration, but it might not look exactly how they drew it up. They still haven't designed the stadium. The stadium's going to look completely different, I'm sure. They haven't designed the stadium. They don't have designs for the Alamo Dome yet. None of that legwork has been done yet. That was a holistic view of this is what we want to happen. But the design concepts of everything, the hotel, the convention center, everything is not completely nailed down yet. They don't have all that stuff yet. So it could look exceedingly different. It could look similar. Also, speaking of the over on the Tennis Channel, we were watching the Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz 1 vs. 2 over on the Tennis Channel, which is our owned by our parent company Sinclair. Yannick Sinner was forced to withdraw in the first set of that match. So
Get out of town.
it's really disappointing
Wow,
when you
I
have
hope he's
1 versus
okay.
when you have 1 vs. 2 and the U.S. Open coming up. You never want to see that. So prayers out to Yannick Sinner, who had to withdraw. Carlos Alcaraz wins ATP Cincinnati. So anyway, that's all we got for you. Anything else you want to add there, Chuck?
Dude, we went 45 minutes on this today. I was glad I was able to keep up with you because you are a virtual wealth of knowledge. Or is it a dirge?
I don't know. What'd you call me? No, I'm just kidding. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Thursday with more of this. That's when the council meeting is going on. I'm going to try and keep up with it as best as I can as we go so we can kind of nail some of this down on the podcast. We might actually be a little bit later on Thursday than I originally anticipated just because of the council meeting that's happening. So we'll have more of this for you on Thursday. We'll be back then. It's great to be back with you now. We'll see you then.
See y'all later.